The Dark Side. I'm your host, Brianna.
My name's Jeff.
And this is Dark Adaptation. Welcome to episode 58.
It's an episode.
Hi, Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
You do it so much better than me. I don't know why. I just was in the kitchen and I was just like to myself, my name's Jeff. And you're like, did you just say my name's Jeff? And now I can't stop saying it. It's like 3 hours.
This is how it starts, and it's gonna last a whole week.
Randomly in weird silent moments. My name's Jeff. I can't even do it.
My name's Jeff. It's because you picture Channing Tatum.
I
isn't
do,
it?
and he just looks like he looks drunk, tired, and also like he has to fart or something. So he's just making this stupid face.
God, that's like 90% of my existence.
Drunk, tired, and having to fart.
Yep.
So you're Jeff.
I'm Jeff.
Oh my god. Anyway, hello. It's episode 58. It's
It's an episode.
Yeah, this is an episode.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my notes here. What did I write to myself? Oh, yeah. Last week and the week before, we released our quote best of episodes.
Yeah.
Because we just had to take a little breather around here.
A little fun fact for you.
Oh.
Those are my favorite episodes.
Yes. That's why he chose them.
Yeah. How'd you guys like Pig Woman? Pig Lady's my favorite.
Pig woman.
Pig Woman.
My favorite is her mother, who comes into the court and just starts screaming that her daughter's basically a piece of shit.
That's why I love it.
And they wheeled Pig Woman in on a bed
Yeah.
to testify. Oh my god.
It's fucking beautiful.
I have to re-listen to those. Those are so long ago. I mean, they weren't because they came out 2 weeks ago, but I didn't listen to them 2 weeks ago. I listened to them when we did them, which was episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we released those because we like to do that sometimes, the little best of series. You pick those because they're your favorites, and we needed a break around here.
Yeah.
Plus, gave me time to dive into this case, which is like kind of 2 cases in one, but like, well, you'll see.
Okay.
But it's a 2-parter.
Ooh.
Again.
Yeah.
Because, just because, you know me. There's so much involved.
Yeah.
And, yeah, okay, so I think that we should just get started because I got so much to
Go.
tell you. Ooh.
And go.
This week, we're staying in the jazz age.
Go.
We're staying in the jazz age this week to discuss a notorious crime that's being called the O.J. Simpson drama of its time.
Oh, God.
Just the drama.
Yeah.
Not the O.J. part. Just the drama part.
I've been called the OJ of my generation.
Oh, my God. That's when you go, run.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. This
run.
guy is the new Juice.
From the cops onto the highway for several minutes before pulling into your own driveway.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of...
I am in the market for a new Ford Bronco, by the way.
Right. White?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like it to show dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has to. People need to know I'm rugged.
Have you ever heard Dave Chappelle's stand-up?
I've heard
special?
of this Dave Chappelle you speak of.
Well, he did one, and like the catch each time he was talking was like that was like the first, the third, whatever time that he met the Juice. Oh my god, it's so good. I fucking love Dave Chappelle.
I love his stories about meeting people. It's Rick James, bitch.
Okay, let's not record this and go watch the Chappelle show.
Yeah, this is anyway, guys. See ya. Enjoy the third best of episode.
The Juice.
The Juice.
Okay, anyway, here we go. O.J. Simpson drama of its time. That's just what it's being called by like one person or something. The story of Walter Collins started as a missing child case, but quickly evolved into a media frenzy. This case deals with a boy's disappearance, the corruption and abuse of power at the hands of the LAPD, an imposter, and the unearthing of Gordon Northcott, a heinous child abuser, child abductor, and serial killer. At the center of this whirlwind is Christine Collins, the grieving but incredibly determined mother of the missing Walter Collins.
When do they start playing football?
Christine Collins was born Christine Ida Dunn on December 14th, 1888.
She sure did.
In Los Angeles, California.
Yo.
California.
You're on the wrong side of the boardwalk, partner.
Yeah, on the wrong side of the accents.
There's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard. Don't you, partner?
Okay, that's enough. Oh my god. This episode is so good.
There's no listeners left.
No. They're like, what the fuck did we tune into? Aren't these people good enough to have best of episodes? These people are full of shit. Okay. All right. Christine was described as a handsome woman with prominent features.
That cannot be either a compliment or like a real good dig.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I don't really know what else to say about her.
Say something nice about her.
She's so handsome with very prominent features. What?
She's got strong hands.
Oh, me too. She married Walter J. Collins. Now, her son is named Walter and her husband is named Walter. So if I say Walter Sr., Walter Sr. is her husband. And if I just say Walter, that's the son.
Okay.
So she married Walter J. Collins, Walter Sr., and they had a son, Walter, like I said, and they had Walter on September 23rd, 1918.
Okay.
Walter Sr. proved himself unreliable over and over. Their finances were a mess, and Walter Sr. couldn't hold down a normal job. And in retrospect, this was because he wasn't really working normal jobs, you know?
Oh.
Walter Sr. was an ex-convict using an alias. So, Walter J. Collins' real name was Walter Joseph Anson, and he was hiding a shady past from his wife. Past that included serving 2 prison terms for robbery and running a speakeasy.
Okay.
And history repeated itself with Walter Sr., who was sent to prison for a 3rd time after being convicted of 8 armed robberies, and he was incarcerated at Folsom State Prison.
Okay.
8 armed robberies.
Folsom Prison.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he was arrested and sent to prison, Christine championed for her husband, saying that he had always been a stand-up man. He must have temporarily lost his mind because his mother was really sick. But she had no idea that, her husband was using an alias and that this wasn't his first offense.
He was living a double life.
Basically.
Yeah.
Christine was now a single mother in the 1920s, which was like an anomaly.
Yeah, that's fucking rough.
And she was left to raise Walter on her own in their middle-class neighborhood of Mount Washington in Los Angeles. At first, this was daunting to her, especially being a single mother at this time. But she snapped out of the spell and handled her new reality as a breadwinner with dignity and grace. She got a job as a supervisor at a telephone exchange and is said to have prided herself on her professionalism and her ability to maintain a non-emotional, business-like manner when dealing with men in authority.
Okay.
This is a demeanor that would be very beneficial to her in the near future.
All right.
It's also a demeanor that I should probably try and adapt, but...
I don't think you could do it,
I
to be quite honest.
No, I can't.
No.
Oh, you're right. Because she was a supervisor at a telephone exchange company where they're constantly busy. She worked long hours, often into the evening and on weekends. And then any spare time she had was spent with her son and writing letters to the prison board and other officials, begging them to release her husband, as she and their son needed the financial support, and she just wanted her family back together, because this was like the core family. Like Walter Sr.'s mother was around, but she was really sick, and she just wanted like this little family back together. She, in her letters, she was insisting that he was a good man and was adamant that he like just must have had a temporary lapse in sanity, because he'd never do something like that.
Right.
So Christine finally received a response letter from Thomas Gannon, who was on the prison board. And Thomas outlined how her husband has been in prison multiple times for various shady dealings, and he's not as innocent as she's making him out to be. And then at first Christine was shocked, like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, my husband isn't even who I thought he was. What the fuck? But then she was like, you know what? No, I'm still determined to get him out, because I want my husband back. I want my husband, and I want the father of my child around. I gotta be this little family.
Yeah.
So she was hiring lawyers who ended up being like cons, basically. Like, they would be like, oh, I'll definitely help you get your husband out of prison, but you have to pay me like however much as a retainer. So then she would, and then they would just disappear.
Yeah.
And then she was promised that her husband would be paroled by various officials, and there was never any follow through. They would just be like, yeah, lady, like, don't worry, he'll get parole. And then they would stop taking her calls or letters. And then by this point, Christine was just running on fumes. She was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and her doctor had ordered her to rest, but that wasn't possible because she's like the breadwinner now. She has the son to take care of. She has rent to pay. Like, she still has a life to live with bills to pay. Plus, their finances were terrible by the time Walt Sr. went to prison. And so, like, she had to keep working these long shifts to bring in the money. March 10th, 1928, was a beautiful sunny day in Lincoln Heights, Los Angeles. Christine hoped to spend the day relaxing with Walter, who was 9 years old at this point, but she was called into work and had to leave Walter alone until she returned that evening. In order to entertain him, she did what she often did when she was called into work. She gave him some pocket money and told him that he could go to the Lincoln Heights Cinema.
Oh, sick.
The cinema.
I'm going to look. There's another Lana Del Rey song title. The Lincoln Park Cinema.
Lincoln Park.
Cinema. The Lincoln Park Cinema.
Lincoln
Why?
Heights.
What'd you say?
It's not, but it could be.
I just want to go to the Chris Cornell skate park, Mom. What's wrong?
Chris Cornell was in Lincoln.
No, but they're friends.
Oh.
Yeah. They were friends.
Jesus Christ, I don't know
and
where
also,
you are, kid.
I think the lead singer of Linkin Park killed himself, and so did Chris Cornell.
Yes. That's true.
Get it?
Good.
The similarities. Like, my mind is like a maze wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in genius juice.
You're demented.
You're good luck topping that, Brianna. Anyway,
I can't,
go ahead.
and I won't even try. You're fucked, kid. Okay. Didn't go to Lincoln Park Cinema. She gave him some money so that he could go to the Lincoln Heights Cinema.
Right.
So she left for work, and Walter got dressed, putting on a red plaid lumber jacket, brown cord trousers, and a gray cap. And then he left their house located at 217 North Avenue 23 to head to the cinema. And he likely left just before 5 p.m. because the neighbor, Mrs. Baker, saw Walter at the corner of Pasadena Avenue and North Avenue 23 at 5 p.m.
Sorry, Mrs. Baker is the most 1920s old lady I've ever fucking heard.
Of course, your neighbor is Mrs. Baker. Yeah, and that's how she's reported. Like, no first name. She's just straight up Mrs. Baker.
You know, Mrs. Baker.
Everyone knows Mrs. Baker of Lincoln Heights. Christine returned home that evening, but Walter was not in the house. This was surprising to her because he always came right home after the movie was over. He was reported as being a very good kid. He listened, he didn't cause trouble, and he always returned home, especially on the weekend when he wants to spend time with his mom, who's like never home because she's always working. So panic was starting to set in. Christine called local authorities and reported her son missing. The police were not helpful in the slightest, saying that they weren't going to go look for some kid who was likely to come home any minute.
Nice.
Yeah, so she was told to call back if the, quote, runaway didn't return within 24 hours.
You're legally required to wait 24 hours until reporting a missing person, which is, by the way, that's not true.
No, it's
If
not.
you ever hear that, it's not true.
It's not true.
No.
So Christine was like, fuck sakes, and just kind of sat there with her thoughts for a bit. But then she called the police back, and she was like, yo, my husband is in prison, and I'm worried that my son was abducted by people seeking revenge on him. So this prompted the police to actually take Christine seriously, and then they began searching for Walter. The LAPD didn't have much to go on, though, because aside from the neighbors sighting, like Mrs. Baker saying, I saw him at 5 at this corner, there were no other clues or sightings of Walter. So they were basically stuck. They're like, well, I don't see this kid in the neighborhood. So they decided to report the disappearance in the Los Angeles Times in hopes of encouraging people to come forward with tips.
This is turning into like LA Noir.
LA Noir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm seeing a bunch of LA cops from 1920s running around, storming newsrooms where a bunch of people are yelling about moxie and ham sandwiches and cut the lead and then kill the lead, then put it back in and give me a ham sandwich.
you just like to talk about any kind of newsroom.
I really do.
What would you want to be in a 1920s newsroom?
I would love that. You know why? That was back when reporters got fucking paid.
What a shame
Yeah.
that they got paid. No, I'm just kidding. So, putting an article in the Los Angeles Times actually did help, sort of. There was tips that started pouring in. One of these tips was that Walter was allegedly spotted as far north as San Francisco and Oakland, which, I mean, obviously we're fucking Canadian. So I was like, how far north is it? So it's roughly 380 miles or 600 kilometers north, which is a between 5.5 to 6 hour drive.
Okay,
So like it is far north.
Yeah.
From Los Angeles.
Like, this is how bad I am with this. My gauge is how cold I think the area generally is.
What the fuck does that mean?
California's fucking hot. Like, if it's like winter, I may go vacation there. But I sure
Southern California.
Yeah, but I sure as fuck am not about to go to like Oakland.
No, that's true.
Ever.
Let the record show Dyson Wells will never.
No, I don't
Oakland,
own a bulletproof
California.
vest.
What if it was I'm just kidding. What if it was the 1920s?
Oh god. I don't even think they had vests.
Are you kidding? It's custom mandatory attire to have a vest. Anyways, another reporting was that Walter was sighted at a Glendale gas station. Glendale is in Los Angeles. It's about 9 miles away from Lincoln Heights neighborhood.
So very close.
Yeah. The gas station attendant, Richard Strothers, claimed to see Walter's dead body in the backseat of a car. His body was wrapped in newspaper with only his head sticking out.
Yeah, I don't believe him.
Me neither. So the attendant...
I only contacted you because you asked for help in the paper. I thought you had it covered.
Covered. Good one.
Yeah, thanks.
That is like a triple meaning. I thought she
Yeah.
had it covered, as in the cops might have had it covered.
Mhm.
But I thought she had it covered, as in it was in the newspaper. And I thought you had it covered because he was wrapped in a newspaper.
Yeah.
That was my
Genius
mind
juice, I'm
blown.
telling you.
Okay, no, not feeding that. So the attendant described the driver of this car with Walter's, apparent dead body in there as a, quote, foreign-looking man, probably an Italian, accompanied by a woman. A man named C.V. Staley was also at the gas station, so he apparently followed the couple when they left. and the couple stopped for a few moments in front of a police station and then sped away toward the San Fernando Valley out of town, losing Staley. So then when the police showed Struthers and Staley Walter's photo, they both said that that was the boy in the back of the car.
Okay.
I mean...
Did they only show that photo? Were there other photos?
I think it's just like one photo, really, that they were using.
Have you seen this boy?
Yeah, basically. Basically. Other tips came in about a couple traveling across California with a boy who was begging them to let him go. Which, if that is like made up, that's scary. And if that's true, that's really, really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then Walter Sr. was, you know, of the belief as well, like his wife, that a former inmate had kidnapped his son out of revenge. And they had thought this, like him and his wife, because part of his job in the prison's cafeteria was to report infractions. So he's basically a snitch.
Yeah, he's a designated snitch.
Yeah. So they were like, ooh, like if anybody wanted revenge on someone, it literally could be me because I work in the cafeteria and I have to fucking snitch on people.
You know what they say? Snitches' children get stitches.
Children gets, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Poor Walter.
Yeah.
So that was basically like the main like tips and like thoughts at that time that were coming in, but there was no witnesses or for like the abduction part of like inmates who have a vendetta. And then as for everything else that was pouring in, there wasn't like any proof of it other than people saying, yeah, that's the boy I saw.
I saw him.
It's like, that's easy to say.
It's probably just one just says, he looks familiar.
I think I've seen this boy somewhere. That's a boy. The amount of tips coming in proved how distraught Angelinos were. They rallied behind Christine, helping in any way to find her son. And like when I was reading it, I was like, this response seems like sort of extreme. Why, like, was it this one that they were like, yeah, Christine, we got you. But then I looked up some other stuff from like the 1920s and around this time. And on some of the articles that were reporting details of the story said that basically the city was like already in like an uproar, sort of like the residents were traumatized because there was this string of like recent and very vicious crimes that were happening, and they were fed up and frustrated with the LAPD's like apparent inability to handle any of these cases.
Okay.
So then when Walter went missing, it was just like another thing on top of everything, and they were just like losing their damn minds.
Yeah, okay.
So
it was a pressure cooker.
Yes, exactly. So 3 months earlier, a 12-year-old girl named Marion Parker was kidnapped in LA for ransom by William the Fox Hickman.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yep. And that's
William the Fox Hickman.
I think I will cover that at some point, because when I was reading it, I was like, oh, what the fuck? What the fuck?
When she goes around, he definitely calls himself Fox.
It's probably a nickname he gave himself.
Yeah.
Which is like the worst. A month before Walter had gone missing, the headless body of a 15-year-old boy named Alvin Gothia had been found under a bunch of burlap bags in a ditch in nearby La Puente. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking escalated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went from ransom to like decapitated under burlap sacks in a ditch.
15-year-old.
Yeah.
And then 2 months after Walter had vanished, brothers Nelson and Lewis Winslow, who were, we'll talk about them a bit more.
Sorry, whenever I hear Nelson, I think of The Simpsons. Nelson.
It's not that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more in depth later, but I'm pretty sure they were 10 and 12 years old.
Okay.
So just children. And they went missing from LA's Pomona neighborhood on their way home from a model yacht club meeting. And that's just like a couple of the shit.
Okay, don't elaborate, but I am going to go Google model yacht club.
I think it's exactly what you think.
Oh.
I don't have any more details about that because that's not the main point of the story.
This is my problem.
One of them.
Yeah.
So after Nelson and Lewis Winslow had gone missing, their parents were receiving letters from their sons And the first was postmarked for Pomona and said that they were headed to Mexico. And then they got another letter that said that, you know, like, hi, mom, dad, like, we're healthy. We're just like attempting to become famous by remaining missing as long as possible. But like, don't even worry about us.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So, and that, like I said, that's just some of the cases that were like basically haunting LA at this time. So then, you know, with Walter also missing and the LAPD just shitting the bed, people were like, what the fuck? Do your goddamn job. So Walter's disappearance, especially with how many people were rallying behind Christine, had now received nationwide attention, and the press was watching the LAPD's every move. Even though they had conducted this massive manhunt for Walter, they had even dragged Lincoln Park Lake. Actually, Lincoln Park. You're the way you just looked at me, but Lincoln, like Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, okay.
Not LinkedIn. What was this?
Not LinkedIn.
I wish people could have seen me. What was that?
I don't know. Durst? What the fuck was that?
I'll never be as cool as Durst.
I'm about to Durst burst, let me tell you.
So, they dragged Lincoln Park Lake and followed up on it, like all those tips and stuff, but there was still no signs of Walter emerging. So sadly, this case was starting to go cold, and this was just leading to an even larger public outrage. And the LAPD were routinely receiving bad press due to recent corruption scandals. So their inability to locate Walter was compounding their embarrassment. How do you think the LAPD addressed their embarrassment and this claims of corruption?
Very gracefully, Brianna. The LAPD, they have the Midas touch, all right, when it comes to public affairs. They're very good at this. They calmed the crowd. They soothed the grieving mother. They kissed babies. They shook hands.
False. They addressed their embarrassment and claims of corruption with more corruption. Enter a police scandal.
Beautiful.
In August 1928, so 5 months after Walter's disappearance, police in DeKalb, Illinois picked up a boy who told them that his name was Arthur Kent. At first, he told the officers that his father had abandoned him, so they placed him with a temporary family, where he quickly changed his tune, telling police that his real name was Walter Collins. And he was the missing boy from Los Angeles. He said that he'd been lying and avoiding their questions to protect his father. So Illinois police contacted the LAPD and sent them photographs of the boy. And the LAPD told Christine the amazing news. They'd located her son. She was fucking excited. And she happily paid the $70 travel expense for him to return to LA. How much do you think $70 is?
Fuck.
1928, $70.
$250.
It is $1,200.
Jesus Christ. I'm never going to be good at this.
That's okay. It's fun. It's fun for me. So she's all fucking pumped. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? You found my kid. Oh my God, this is amazing. Please, yes, take all of my money. Bring my kid home. So the police called on reporters, and they made sure that all the spectators in LA would come and see this really happy reunion at the train station. They were hoping that this would negate all of the bad publicity that they'd been receiving about their inability to solve this case and deflect attention away from all of their corruption scandals. The fucking irony. So Christine is there. She's watching as all these passengers are like flooding out of the train, but she doesn't see her son anywhere. And she's kind of like looking up and down the platform, and then she sees a boy walking towards her, and she's like, well, you know, he's got like a slight passing resemblance to Walter, but like, that's not my son. So when the boy approaches, the police just thrust him into Christine's arms. And then there's like all these onlookers who are so happy and they're like cheering. And the reporters have like flash bulbs going off everywhere. And they're just like so happy that this mother finally has her kid. And Christina's standing there and she's confused. And she said like, excuse me,
excuse you like, you know, we edit stuff sometimes, right? You could have just been like, pause. Okay. No, I'm gonna leave that in there. No. Yeah. Excuse me.
I get so in my head. I'm like, feel like I'm telling a crowd at a train station.
You're not my son. My name's Jeff.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my fucking chest. I think I put the lung.
You know, my job on this podcast is essentially to derail you.
Yes. You're sabotaging me. To derail me? Or see how many times you could get me a David Spade laugh?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Fuck you.
Anyway, we need to bring people back.
Oh my god, okay. So, yeah, happy people everywhere. Flashbulbs going off. They're taking photos of Christina, their son, that's this kid that's just been forced into her arms.
Right.
So Christina's confused, and she said, like, I do not think that this is my boy. Like, this is not my son. And the police refused to entertain this idea that this wasn't her son. And before they could say as much, the boy just like flung his arms around Christine in this huge hug and was like putting it on for the cameras. And then Christine's uncomfortable as fuck. And she's saying like, this isn't my son. And then the police ignored her again. And they were just like, yo, like, you better smile and pose for those cameras.
Yeah.
And Captain J.J. Jones said that, like, what do you mean? This must be your son. He recognized you, didn't he? And he knows you're his mother. Look how happy he is to be with you. And he convinced Christine to, quote, try the boy out.
Nice. Real nice.
Captain Jones claimed that Walter only seemed a bit different to her because he'd matured and experienced stress over these past 5 months.
Yeah, he's older now because of time. You know, just give him a spin.
Basically.
Take him out for a spin.
Like what he was saying to her. So,
this slaps the kid on the head. This boy can hold so many cherished memories, let me tell you.
Oh my god. So at this point, Christine is emotionally drained. She's exhausted. She's confused. There's people, I don't even know how many people were around her that were just like basically helping cram this narrative down her throat.
Yeah.
So she caved to the pressure and she did take Walter home.
Oh my god.
Then the next day, in the newspapers everywhere, there's photos of Christine like being reunited with her son and them posing together. And her, if you really look at it, you can see that she's just dying inside.
Yeah.
But even the newspapers stated that, like, you know, even though she was confused at first, she took that boy home. Oh. They're like, at first, you know. It's
a great accent.
I thought that was like,
it was very good.
A little newsboy.
Yeah, I liked it. Old newsboy.
A little new.
That was classic old school news broadcast right there. That was a gem. Don't undersell it.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to try and do it again. We'll just let it be what it was. So even the newspaper reporting and the articles and stuff were like, you know, she didn't really think it was her.
She was in shock.
Kid, but, you know, she took him home, though. And for a few weeks, Christine did live with Walter. I hope people can hear the air bunnies when I
they're audible, let me tell you.
Christine lived with Walter, trying to adapt to life with her son. Again. What? And I just wonder, like, what the fuck were those weeks like? Like, what would you even talk about with a kid that you know is not yours?
Oh, it's going to be so upsetting because you're, like, kind of like, am I going insane? But then, like, your kid probably, like...
This kid is
probably, like, eats the sandwiches with the crust on and, like... You know,
but Walter always wanted the crust cut off.
Looks confused initially as to like where his room is.
I am
very upsetting thing.
Goosebumps. Like, it would be like having a weird little alien.
Yeah,
like
this is changeling style shit going on. It's upsetting.
And then, like, on top of that, if you can keep your mind straight and be like, no, I'm not fucking crazy. This is not my kid. Then you're devastated because you're stuck looking after some kid that's not yours.
Yeah.
And you know your son is out there still.
I would grill the shit out of this kid until he tells me where he came from.
You just start waterboarding him.
I would like, it would be like 11:15 at night. I call him down. He comes downstairs. Lights are all out. He walks into the room. He sees me.
Just the light of your cigarette.
Just the light of my cigarette. You're gonna tell me who we really are. And then the light comes on and I shine it right in his eyes. I'm like, have a seat.
Why is this a Nirvana the Band the Show sketch?
Do you like it?
I do. I love it, actually.
It's amazing.
And I was thinking of when Bird makes Matt some soup. He's like, it's good. Eat it. And he's looking at him. And he finally takes a bite and he's like, Because I can imagine Christine being like, don't you want some milk? And like passing Walter a glass of milk. But her real Walter is lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
That kid can't drink milk.
Yep.
But this kid takes a glass of milk and just starts drinking it.
Yeah.
Christine's like, anyway, none of this happened, by the way. This is just me and Dyson living in our own world.
Complete fabrication, but you know, could you imagine?
Complete fabrication. Do you think this really happened? False. I made it up.
That one was told by a writer. That's a great show, by the way. Anyway, let's continue.
But for real, though, it must have been fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I have to live with this kid. And she did for a few weeks. And then you're like, I'm not fucking crazy. This isn't my kid. And now I'm stuck taking care of this kid. Who the fuck's kid is this? And where's my son? And it just would be just mind-bending. Then, on top of it, the boy was going out and he was giving very concise and detailed interviews about his abduction and his time on the road. He told reporters,
on his own. He just fucking. He's like, sorry, Mom. I have a press meeting. 1 minute.
I don't know, but I don't think it was Christine that was
like 45-year-old man in a child wig. Like I imagine he heads out with like a briefcase and a reporter hat. He's like, gotta go to my press meeting. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. It's 12:15.
I'll take my glass of milk with me.
She's like, yeah, you fucking will. Get the fuck out of here, little changeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was on his own or whatever, but he was giving detailed interviews about his abduction, his time on the road. And he told reporters that the day that he went missing, he was playing with some kids in a vacant lot near his home when a man approached him saying that he was a friend of his mother's and she had given this man $15 to take the boy out to buy a new suit. And apparently he was expecting to buy a new suit in the near future, so the story was believable to him. And then he continued saying that, you know, he was taken to the home of this Mexican woman. And when they were all together and they moved to Hollywood, where they stayed for a few days. But then that man that had also bought the suit told the boy that his parents weren't really related to him. So the man introduced him to his real father, who took him, quote, way east, getting rides when we could, and sometimes riding on trains when Daddy had enough money to pay for our fares, end quote. And then they finally reached DeKalb, Illinois, where he was picked up by those police at the diner and eventually, quote, confessed to being, quote, Walter.
Right.
Isn't that wild?
No, Brianna, that's so wild. I don't believe a goddamn second. He lured me with the promise of a new suit. This is a 45-year-old man, I'm telling you.
And then I went to a Mexican lady's house, and then that was my family, and then we moved to Hollywood, but that's not my family. And then I went with my real dad, and we went cross-country in a train, and I said, oh, when Daddy can pay the fares, we rode good. And then I went to...
We rode good.
Then I went to DeKalb, Illinois, where I was picked up and decided, you know what? Yeah, I am Walter. Like, sorry, I went away with all these people. I'll come home now.
Yeah, what a ride.
What the fuck? Like Christine, she's probably sitting in the fucking corner, just forced to sit back and watch this kid just straight up lying through his teeth about being her son.
Oh, yeah.
While also being amazed of the tales that he's spinning, because, spoiler alert, he's making all of this up.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fucked up, because he's a kid, and it's really creepy. And Christine is just forced to sit there like, I don't want this kid. This isn't my kid.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, she was quietly researching how to prove that this boy was not her son.
By hitting him.
She was... No. She is more of an intellect. She's not going to just start beating this child. She's going to sit quietly in the corner with a cigarette and observe all of the weird shit he does.
Yeah.
So, after 3 weeks, she lived with this kid for 3 weeks. Sorry, my mind is still racing of things that she probably did when they were alone for 3 weeks.
All of it involves panic.
Every night of those 3 weeks, like 8 times a night, she would just go into his room and watch him sleep. Like, no, that's not mine. I did not make that. So 3 weeks after Captain Jones had pressured Christine into taking this boy home, she returned to the LAPD armed with with the child, adamant that this was not her child. This isn't my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Her real son was still out there somewhere, and she can't be taking care of a kid that's not hers.
Oh my God. The waste of time frustrates me so much.
It's devastating. So she was armed with basically the research that she had been doing those past 3 weeks. She had official documents relating to the real Walter, her son. For example, in these documents, the boy that was in her care was circumcised, but medical records showed that her son was not.
Mm-hmm.
She had her real son's dental records, which showed and detailed a completely different set of teeth. This totally different. And she also had statements from Walter's friends, other people in their life, his teachers, that said, like, that's not Walter. Like, for example, she had teachers writing letters that said, like, the second that kid sat down in my class, I knew I wasn't teaching Walter. Like, that's not Walter.
Yeah.
And despite all of this, she was treated horribly by the police, who were trying to save face while literally watching their corruption crumble before them.
Yeah, because this is the dumbest fucking idea they could have possibly went with.
That they're just so desperate and obviously just treating Christine like she's an idiot. And look how vulnerable this woman is. How vulnerable this woman is. Her husband is in prison. Her son is missing. We can absolutely take advantage of her vulnerability. But she's like, basically, like, fuck you. This is my kid. So she again was like trying to give this kid back. She's like, I've shown you everything I have that is proving that's not my son. And Captain Jones just ridiculed her. He was calling her a bad mother, saying that she was purposefully making the police look bad. And according to later court testimony by Christine, Captain Jones told her, quote, "What are you trying to do? Make fools out of us? Or are you trying to shrink your duty as a mother and have the state provide for your son? You are the most cruel-hearted woman I've ever known. You are a fool."
What a dick.
Yeah. And Christine stood there and took it and stood firm as well in her position that that boy is not her son.
No, of course not.
So Jones told her, "You're insane and ought to be in a madhouse. You're under arrest and I'm going to send you to the psychopathic ward."
Kids' teeth shift all the time, lady, and teachers are drunk 90% of the time.
Teachers are women and they are wrong.
They're hysterical, let me tell you.
So him saying, "You're under arrest and I'm going to send you to the psychopathic ward," that was not a threat. That's exactly what he did.
Really?
He committed her to the psychiatric ward at LA County General Hospital under a Code 12 internment, which is a term that was used at the time to jail or commit someone who was deemed difficult or an inconvenience to them. Basically, if you
doesn't sound like it should be a code at all.
It isn't anymore, but back then it was. So basically, if you were like, quote, a bothersome person, they could just be like, you know what, I'm going to Code 12 your ass.
Yeah.
And it's 1920s. Like, it was easy for them to do at the time and to use this code to throw people into psychiatric wards or lock them up in jail when they didn't like them.
Get the paddy wagon. We got another one of those annoying ones.
Basically, they're like, you know what, Christine, you're a nuisance to me, and I'm putting you in the, quote, like, loony bin.
Yeah, it's fucked.
And, like, unsurprisingly, it happened to women all the time, way more than when.
Hysteria.
And it was because they're all hysterical and we're all suffering from the vapors and the fuck.
That's a southern thing.
Southern California.
All right, okay, fair. I'll take that.
But yeah, women were all fucked. So he was like, fuck you, fuck you, I'm out. And you're out.
You're cool, points to the kid.
God, it's so inappropriate, but
That's what's everything that this guy's done is inappropriate.
I know. So yeah, he literally put a code 12 on her, and she was sent to the psychiatric ward at the LA County General Hospital. And she was like, suck it up. Have fun. All because she was like, I'm telling you, this isn't my kid. Here's the proof. And he was like, this doesn't really go.
It drives me nuts that like she had like solid proof. Like that's just straight up proving that that's not her kid.
Doing legwork and investigative work that those officers should have done before they gave her a child. But they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly that they were just giving her a random kid that obviously wasn't her son, and hoped that she would just shut up and go away.
Yeah, because they coordinated that entire like the staging publicity stunt at the station.
It's so gross. And then she's like not settling for it, and they just basically hate her because she's a nuisance to them and their fucked up agenda.
Yeah.
With Christine institutionalized against her will, Captain Jones questioned Walter and eventually had a handwriting expert weigh in. So the expert asked Walter to write out a paragraph, and after the expert analyzed the boy's writing style compared to a sample of the known Walters, the real Walters.
Right.
And he looked at these two samples, and he concluded that the boy's writing was absolutely not a match to the known handwriting sample of Walter's. So
you know what I would have done?
Made him eat the paper?
No, I would have made him take a bite of literally anything and compared it to the goddamn dental records we actually have, not this fucking handwriting pseudoscience. Fucking LAPD. Jesus Christ.
They're hoping it. Yeah, I don't even know what they're hoping. I'm not even going to try and get into the mind of especially Captain Jones.
Because they wanted to bullshit it. They were like, I bet the fucking guy writing checking the cursive's going to fuck this up.
And he didn't. He really took it
got it.
Dead serious. And he even was like, you see here, this R. We don't teach R's like this in California. This
is an Oakland lad.
This is absolutely an Illinois R.
It's an Illinois R.
He's like, no, it's not a match.
This child's from Milwaukee. Relax. I just want to write some letters. I'm going to do a whole episode one day like that. I'm going to do a whole episode like that.
And then randomly. My name's Jeff. Confronted with this, they're like, yo, this fucking handwriting doesn't match. And then the boy was like,
my name's Jeff. I feel sorry for whoever's not on board with this joke. And they were like, first part of the episode, like, they're probably done with it.
Yeah,
no.
They're like, don't you know how long ago that movie came out? You're so far behind. Every once in a while, a good quote rears its head. Yep. I do it all the time with The Hangover. Okay, so the handwriting expert, nope. The Captain Jones, he confronted this kid.
Yeah.
And was like, doesn't match, huh? What I gotta say about that? And the boy was like, okay. I'm not Walter. My name is Billy Fields. And I only pretended to be Walter because I wanted to be in the movies. So Captain Jones was like, the fuck you talking about? You wanted to be in the movies. And then he's like, well, the boy was like, actually, sorry. I want to be in the movies, but my name isn't Billy Fields. My name is Tommy Danny Osborne.
Okay.
And Captain Jones was like, well, okay, so what? Are you Billy? Or are you Tommy? Who are you? Why are you here?
Yeah.
The kid was like, okay, you know what? I'll really tell you the truth now. And he did. And he said that he was a runaway from Marion, Iowa. And he was 12 years old. And his name was Arthur Hutchins Jr. So the cop was like, great. Why are you here? What is going on? Besides the fact that we, made you come here. What?
Yeah.
What's your story, kid? What's your story, kid? And Arthur said that his mother had died. And he was sent to live this new isolated life with his, quote, cold fish of a father and Violet, his malicious stepmother.
Oh my God.
And
I'm going to start calling people cold fish.
Cold fish, I know.
That's so good.
Cold fish of a father. So he ran away from his cold fish and his malicious stepmother.
Yeah.
And he was hitchhiking around the country and he was working odd jobs. And then he had stopped at an Illinois roadside cafe. And when he was in that cafe, a diner told him, like, oh, yo, probably not yo, because it's 1920, but they're like,
yo,
whoa, you look so much like that missing kid from Los Angeles. The resemblance is uncanny. And remember, there was like pictures circulating all over the nation about Walter. Like, it was a nationwide fucking media frenzy. It was the O.J. Simpson drama of its time.
Right.
And so Arthur saw this as an opportunity to get to Los Angeles. He could see Hollywood, and then he could meet his favorite actor, cowboy star Tom Mix.
I love the rationale this kid has.
He's 12.
Yeah.
So he's like,
great.
I can definitely just get to Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm in Hollywood. And if I'm in Hollywood, I'm with Tom Mix.
Mr. Mix?
Mr. Mix, I'm a huge fan. My name's Arthur. My name's Billy. My name's Tom. I'm Walter. So he was like, great, I can get to Hollywood. I can see Tom Mix. So when he was arrested or taken into custody, I guess, at that roadside cafe in Illinois, he told the authorities there that he was the missing Walter Collins. Mm-hmm. So that's what Arthur told the LAPD. So the LAPD were like, great. Now he's admitted that he's an imposter when we obviously already knew that. But now we have to take care of this fucking kid. So they contacted this little imposter's family and Violet, the malicious stepmother, dreaded stepmother. She came from Iowa, I suppose is where they lived, because he said that he lived in Marion, Iowa. Traveled to California by train to come and collect her stepson. And then when she was there, she just kind of reveled in like her 15 minutes of fame. And then
oh my God.
And then just left. And Arthur this kid showed no remorse for his actions. And he even told journalists and reporters that it was all a game to him. It was just fun.
Little shit, that's who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know he's 12, but like, it's still fucking
yeah,
crazy.
It just goes to show how shitty his fucking parents are, though.
Yeah.
That's like the not what he did, his reaction, and zero remorse for it.
Yeah, plus you're also watching your stepmother who's coming to pick you up just like basically bask in the limelight that she's gonna have for like fucking 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And she just like soaked it all in.
And this is her legacy.
Yeah.
All these years later.
Right. And then, when, I can just picture it, flashbulbs going off. And they're like, Arthur, why'd you do it? It was all a game. That was good, right?
That was great. Played you like Yahtzee.
It would be Yahtzee.
It would be Yahtzee.
Monopoly.
Monopoly. I don't even know. I think Monopoly came out in the 50s.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
So did Yahtzee, probably.
I don't fucking know. Anyway, this kid was like, it was all a game to me. Yeah.
It's a little Al Capone.
What do you want? Let me alone. Get on the train. It was not a game to Christine.
No.
Who was institutionalized still at this point.
Oh my God.
She ended up being institutionalized against her fucking will for 10 days before she was finally released.
Jesus Christ.
And while she was there, she lost her job because, first of all, she's literally locked up and can't go to work, but also the huge stigma that's attached to being inside of any sort of psychiatric care.
Yeah.
In the 1920s. Like I said, quote, loony bin. They're like, and she was in the role of a supervisor. They were like, we cannot have her here. So they fired her. And then upon her release, like I said, 10 days later, almost 2 weeks of her being in this place, she immediately filed a complaint against the city, Police Chief James Davis, and Captain Jones for false imprisonment and for the LAPD's just atrocious handling of her son's case, who was still missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah.
So the police commission held a hearing to discuss the complaint, but they refused to discipline Captain Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But since Christine had also filed a complaint with the city, it had to be investigated at that level too. So the hearing was held in the council chambers in the newly opened City Hall, and the hearing was headed by the city's Health and Welfare Committee. So over 1,000 locals packed into the council chambers to hear Police Chief Davis and Captain Jones testify in their defense against Christine's allegations of the false imprisonment and their just dog shit handling.
Ladies and gentlemen, we investigated ourselves and have determined that we have done nothing wrong.
Well, at least it's before the city at this point.
Yeah.
The Health and Welfare Committee. But yeah, of course, these two chuckle fucks, whatever, are going to have debriefed each other on like, what are you saying? Okay, great. I'll say that too.
Yeah.
So among those to testify before the committee that day was a family dentist who testified that Walter Collins
finally
had several fillings, and Arthur Hutchins, the imposter, that boy had never, ever seen a dentist in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was all the other experts, like the family doctor and the teachers and people who were just like, that's not her son.
Like literally everyone who has met this kid is like, this isn't Walter.
And like the police don't fucking
This isn't
know
even Walter Light.
No. No, like I said, Christine didn't even recognize her son anywhere on that train platform.
Yeah.
But then as she was like staring at the kid, she's like, fine, I guess I can see a passing resemblance, but like I fucking know that's not my kid.
Yeah.
So at the city hall, these giant speakers were hung outside to accommodate the overflow crowds. Because like I said, there's like over 1,000 people who were, and also these people were like in an uproar. They're like pissed off.
Yeah.
Apparently broken microphones prohibited them from clearly hearing all of the witnesses. So people in the crowd were yelling like louder and speak up, and they're just fucking being little hecklers.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how's there broken microphones? You literally wrote in this article and many other articles that this is a brand new city hall.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Broken.
I know. Yeah, exactly. That's my thought too. And also, god damn it, imagine having 1,000 members of a goddamn peanut gallery just yelling at you in the back.
And those 1,000 people are on Christine's side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're like, fuck you, LAPD. We literally think you're garbage.
Yeah.
So for those who couldn't attend in person or were there but couldn't hear anything because of these apparent broken microphones, whatever, they could tune into this local radio show where Reverend Gustav Briegleb was a minister and pioneer radio evangelist. I said evangelist.
You did. You got that one.
Whoa! Oh my God. You know what is so funny? The best of episode that would have just been released, wasn't that where I couldn't say?
I think it was, yeah.
Oh my God, that is
evangelist,
hilarious.
yeah.
So, Gustav Briegleb, this minister and pioneer radio evangelist.
Nice.
He was the pastor of St. Paul's Presbyterian Church in LA, who took up important causes in the city throughout the 1920s and 30s. And one of those causes was the poor handling of Walter's disappearance. And through his radio show, he fought to have Christine released from the hospital.
Nice.
And he loved to preach about corruption in the LAPD.
Also nice.
I love it. It's just like a fucking like gossipy, like let me spill the tea.
Yeah.
Like, Reverend.
You know
it's
what?
So funny.
I was okay, well, I'm very,
then,
very lame and nerdy, but I was listening to podcasts about how evangelists like reverends and stuff were like one of the founding pioneers of radio. Of talk radio.
That is well, I mean, think about this. It's the 1920s.
Yep.
Crazy.
It is really crazy. So I'm surprised, but then I guess I'm also not, because it's like,
I'm surprised, but also not as well.
Yeah. It's cool. Anyway.
And yeah, so the best part is that like he loved to preach about the corruption in the LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
And he also loved talking about other like salacious topics. Like he was covering the Fatty Arbuckle manslaughter trial.
Yeah.
And he would talk about like sex in movies and presidential scandals.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like I thought you were gonna like tell me it was like ankles, hot, or the devil's skin.
He probably would. He was just like, I don't know. I just think it's so funny that he's this reverend who's also like, anyway, what do you think about that scandal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd throw that in there because it's like, this guy, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't make it to the new city hall to hear the hearing. That's fine. You tune into my radio show. I got Fatty Arbuckle. I got sex in movies. I got presidential scandals. We'll talk about Walter.
Oh, yeah. I want to listen to his fucking broadcast now.
Me too. So after all the testimony was heard and the city council's health and welfare committee deliberated, they basically just made a recommendation that the police like remove Captain Jones and Police Chief Davis.
Good.
So the police commission...
Just a recommendation, though, way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the police commission was like, all right, fine. You know what? We'll suspend Captain Jones.
With pay. With pay.
Probably was with pay. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the, situation was around it. I just know that they suspended Captain Jones, but the complaints against the city and Police Chief Davis were dismissed.
Okay.
So it's not really the outcome Christine was hoping for.
No.
But at least Captain Jones was suspended for now. But don't worry, she's not done.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, around the same time that Arthur Hutchins had finally admitted that he was impersonating Walter, the LAPD had learned of a case that was unfolding about 50 miles east of LA. And it was discovered that a man named Gordon Northcott had been kidnapping, sexually abusing, and murdering young boys on his chicken ranch.
No.
In Wineville, California.
Don't tell me that's the path we're about to go down.
I'll tell you, but I'll have to tell you in part 2.
Oh. This is gonna get dark.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart goes out to this fucking poor woman.
It is unbelievable.
Oh my God.
It is unbelievable. The shit that she...
OJ's got nothing on this. This is fucking awful.
OJ drama of its
OJ's
time.
drama, yeah. Holy shit.
It's crazy, right? It's like taking left turns here and there. It's like, my kid is missing, and the LAPD...
To be honest, I got fucking whiplash.
I know.
And then they threw her in a psychiatric ward.
For 10 days.
Fuck.
Against her will. Locked her up in there because she was fucking, quote, annoying.
Yeah. She dared prove it wasn't her kid with dental records.
These officers just had little tiny mushroom caps of a dick.
Oh, yeah.
And fragile egos.
Yeah.
Fucking awful. But like I said, she's not done. But there is another fucking curveball, left-hand turn, whiplash that we got to take when we come back next week to talk about this weirdo chicken ranch. So yeah, next week we'll dive into Gordon Northcott and the case that became known as the Wineville chicken coop murders.
Oh my God.
And we'll also wrap up Christine's story and everything unfolding there with Walter's disappearance. Yeah, but at least that's part 1. I don't know. That's part 1.
That was fucking good. All right. I can't wait. I'm excited. I want to know
you
what
don't
the
have
fuck
to wait because we didn't get to record part 2.
Right.
But I'm sorry, listener, you have to wait.
Yeah.
But if you want to see photos related to this case and all of the cases we cover, you can follow us on Instagram at Dark Adaptation Podcast. To see our sources, to buy us a coffee, or check out our merch, you can visit our website, darkadaptationpodcast.ca. And thank you for tuning in this week. And we'll catch you on the dark side.
Bye.